Okay, my name is Tiffany Elizabeth Bloxham. I am a student at Concordia University, Portland, and my assignment is discussing educational learning myths. So, the one myth that has been debunked that I thought was interesting was um, different learning modalities like an auditory learner, a visual learner, kinesthetic learner, excuse me. And I thought that was really interesting because I've used those almost every year as an educator. It doesn't always maybe shape my lessons, but it definitely has shaped the way I think about my students and the way I think about how they learn. Not just my students, but also me. So I've always called myself a visual learner. Um, and the way that kind of forms in my brain makes me just think like, oh yeah, I learn from visuals in addition to other things, but that was kind of my main area of learning. So this kind of rocked my mind. I had a big shift. So it basically has come down to what research has found that was accurate is that we do learn from a variety of ways. The thing is that not one of us is, according to James William, solely an auditory learner or solely a visual learner or any other category. So that is one thing that's accurate about learning styles is we do learn from a variety of ways and sources. Now, something else that is possibly maybe considered accurate about the research is there's not enough research done to make learning methods and um, ways accurate. So let me tell you what Williams found that when you Google learning styles, there's over 71 types of learning styles. So most of us in education have heard about the three main ones that I mentioned earlier. So the fact that there's are over 71 total, according to the research that was done through Google, shows that there's not any clear, concise evidence supporting those three types of learning um, models. The other thing that we found is that, according to Jesse Singal, um, unfortunately, the learning styles are widely accepted in education from a variety of sources. It's not necessarily taught through our curriculum programs. Some do teach it, but not all teach learning styles. Some have found it through word of mouth, through colleagues, through different trainings, non-research based trainings. So there's where maybe the learning styles got some, I guess, traction and some gain. Um, how does this relate to our students and how they learn? According to Williams, it shows that we need to teach to look beyond, as educators, we need to look beyond attractive claims. I think his words were education peddlers, people that would put something maybe up that looks really fun and inviting and would maybe have some success for us. But we need to focus more on effective training, he says, looking for professional trainings that are research based and rigorous and effective. And we use those as opposed to things that look like they would work. How does it relate to our cognitive science concepts? According to John Delansky and his four friends, we have to look at rigorously research um, educational models when we are looking at how to teach our students. So they went through quite a few different learning methods. None of them fit into my learning styles, but one thing that I did kind of glean from that article was when they went through those 10 different learning habits or tactics that could help students, they had a very strict microscope that they evaluated them on. So when they found methods that were effective, they did some pretty critical research on it. And when they found methods that weren't as effective, which kind of bummed me out when I saw highlighting on there. I love to highlight, so that one bummed me out. But they definitely put it through a thin microscope. So we know that they did the research to figure out which ones were more effective than others. Not to say it's not effective, just the other ones were more effective. In addition, from this past week through Carrie's book, we did read about a couple different, more than a couple, many different ways that our brain learns. So one of the things that stuck out to me was how we learn through perception. And one of the big things that I think Carrie found through researchers like Gibson was that with perception, we use all of our senses. So taste, touch, sight, smell. I think I'm missing one. Oh, hearing. And not just one, like I'm not the only person that will learn through perception, through my taste. Like all of us will learn through perception from our different senses, in addition to other senses as well, like that he discussed. Also, earlier in this week, I read about problem solving. And one of the things that stuck out to me was that kind of correlated with this learning myth was we're not limited to just one type of problem solving. And we're not limited by our visual abilities in problem solving or our auditory abilities. We can problem solve through all of our senses, and not just me, but everyone around me. So final kind of thoughts on this. Basically, it's hard to change educators' minds when it comes to learning styles because, as some of the articles even mentioned, we've been told this learning styles idea in education for so long through, just simple Google searches to discussing learning with our colleagues that it's hard to flip it in our mind to being false. I know the reason I picked it was because it was something that was kind of ingrained in me as an educator. So I wanted to read more about it and find out why is this not actually true? And then finding out that there is some truth to it, but there's more than just 70 plus ways that we can learn. And then even reading through Carrie's research, our brain just works more than just visually, auditory. So those are my thoughts. I think if you haven't noticed, I'm trying this, figure out the psychology of learning. It's been interesting for me. It's not really a strength of mine, psychology, but I am excited because I actually found some of this quite interesting, which was really nervous for me when I was starting the course because I haven't always loved psychology, but looking at how we learn is important and interesting. So thank you for your time. Tiffany Elizabeth Bloxham checking out. Bye-bye.